I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore Iowa's stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. When lives are crushed under the weight of addiction and prison, it's hard to find a way out. Bridges of Iowa is an organization that specializes in exactly that, finding a way out of criminality and addiction. To talk about what they do, we've invited Jeff Lamberti, whose father Don founded Bridges of Iowa, and Patrick Coughlin, its executive director. Let's meet our guests. Jeff, welcome to the show. Pat, welcome.
Thank
Jeff,
you.
your family has a history with this. You've been recognized as a leader in this effort with Bridges. Tell us a little bit about how this started and what your family's involvement has been.
Sure. Happy to talk about what we've created with Bridges. And it was founded by my parents, Don and Charlene Lamberti, 20 years ago. And the real inspiration was my brother, Tony, my older brother. Like many other families, we had to deal with addiction with my brother. Fortunately, he got past that, but he didn't want to just stop with his own personal journey. He wanted to help create a program that was going to help people. He actually did the investigation, came up with what he thought was a treatment program that would actually work, and then he inspired my parents to fund it and to move forward. And that's really what's happened with 20 years of Bridges. The most important thing is that we created a program that works. We have an extremely high success rate, and that's really what we need in this area. And so as my folks have aged, they need to back up a little bit, and I was pleased to be given the opportunity to step in and hopefully take Bridges to the next level.
That's fantastic. And about that level and a little bit of the context over the last 20 years, Pat, fill us in.
Well, I guess a little bit more history. When I came, I've been with Bridges 15 years, so I came on in October. In fact, my anniversary is next month, my 15-year anniversary. We were a 24-bed program, so much smaller, less levels of care. Still a great program. And then over the years, we've just continued to grow it, of course, with the Lamberti support. So we, prior to COVID in March, we had 75 clients in our residential program and another probably 30 to 40 in our outpatient program. So quite a change from our humble beginnings.
Where's the program actually based? Where do you do most of your work?
Well, our residential facility is actually in an unsecured wing of the Polk County Jail. We, one of the things we've done really well the last few years is creating partnerships in the community. It's one of the things that makes this work. And so we have a partnership with Polk County, and they provide this space. So I always like to clarify that people in there are not incarcerated. It's an unsecured wing. It's separate from the jail. Now, it is a jail building, and so sometimes people get confused about that. But the main reason we do that is to help contain costs.
Now, how would you give, for those of us that may not know much about Bridges, how would you describe your client, the people you work with, how you engage them, how they find you, and where their lives are at that point of contact? As I understand it, many of them face prison, even though they may not be in prison, and you help with that process to keep them.
Yes, that's true. Well, so I always also like to say we are open to anyone. So you don't have to be in trouble with the law, but that was one of Don's missions, was to help people that were either coming out of incarceration or facing incarceration. So initially, it really was people coming out of prison. He wanted a safe, quality program for them to go to. Over the years, we really started doing more diversion. So, hey, yes, people coming out of prison need help, but what if we can keep them from going to prison? And so that is the majority, probably 85 to 95% of our clientele are people that are either sitting in jail or on probation or got new charges and are facing more severe consequences. So they'll get the opportunity, the judge or the court system or whoever is involved will give them an opportunity to come to Bridges in lieu of more severe consequences.
Coming from a background with a family in business, a prominent business family in Iowa, there seems to be a business principle here, where you're sort of getting close to where you need to be, you're keeping costs tight, and you understand the fact that workforce is important. that getting people back and active in the workforce and living healthy lives is important. Is this part of your drive in terms of your family's involvement with this?
Yeah, we certainly want to make Bridges as self-supporting in the future as we can be, and we do focus on the business side of it in terms of what we're doing, but also for society at large. And part of the reason we have this unique relationship with the Polk County Jail and Polk County is we're saving them a lot of money. We demonstrate that you can save well over $100,000 per person as you take them out of an incarceration environment and you make them productive citizens again. And so that's what's really rewarding as well on that side. You know, what makes us successful is really two things. One, we're a long-term program. So on average, say 8 months to a year, which really nobody is doing. And the other thing is we're very comprehensive. We focus on all aspects of the individual, not just the addiction, but jobs, housing, mental health, physical health, restoring family relationships. That's what makes it successful. The challenge we have is nobody wants to fund anything beyond short-term programs, which we know really don't have a success rate. So from a business perspective, the challenge I see is for us to start changing that and to educate people and try to find a way that we can fund these long-term successful programs, because it's in our best interest to do that. And that's really what I see as my challenge, not just for Bridges, but these programs are needed all throughout the state of Iowa.
Well, thank you very much. We'll take a short break and we'll continue the conversation about building bridges to a healthier life. See you after the break. You don't want to miss this.
You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my hero. I see your light in the dark, smile in my face when we all know it's hard. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now, know that you matter, matter.
Every second, 127 new devices connect to the internet. You can feel it happening, our digital world expanding with every breath. We're entering a whole new era of connectivity, and Mediacom will be ready to power it with one of the nation's first 10G platforms. We'll be bringing you more speed, more capacity, more security, and the power to do more than you ever dreamed possible.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking about Bridges of Iowa and how they help people stay out of prison and overcome addiction. Now, Pat, Jeff brought up a great point before the break that, that we live in sort of a world of everybody wants short-term fixes, but we've sort of figured out that this requires a long-term commitment, both by you, your organization, and the people involved with the program. This is quite a conundrum. How do you deal with that?
Well, like Jeff said, one of the things that makes us different and better is the fact that we're long-term. So the way our program works is when you come in, we have all the things that the short-term programs have, right? When you come in, you're in intensive residential treatment, just like what you're familiar with, like a 28-day or a 30-day program. So they're in that environment first. And once they get through that, then they move to our next level of care, which is still residential. They still live with us, but now it's less intensive. So now they go out in the community, find a job, and then they're back doing their treatment in the evening. Whereas these other programs, and it's one of the biggest things we hear, it's like, well, gosh, he went there, he just started to kind of get his head on straight, and then they sent him home. And he was supposed to go back a couple nights a week for some outpatient, but within a few days he was already drunk again or already high again. And so, we don't have that issue. They stay with us long term, all the way through. So that's several more months of that, and it's a process. So after they meet certain benchmarks, then they get like their first weekend pass. Get to go out for 8 hours, prove that you can be out in the community, resist the temptations that naturally come with that. come back, take a drug test, take a breath test, talk about your experience, and then you build those furloughs up over several month period. And then, of course, there's lots of other requirements in there. At a certain point, you have to be built and go into, the traditional 12-step stuff in the community or through your church, however your individual plan is for building your support. Come back, work with your counselor, talk about that, all the way until they move out of the residential facility, and then they spend several more months in our outpatient program, complying with our random drug testing program. So all of that comes together in under one roof, really. Whereas if another program is, sometimes they offer these other things, but now you're going to go over here to this other agency and try to get hooked up with some job readiness stuff, and go over here and work on resume building. Those are all the things that we bring together that really no one else is doing.
There's something else too. I had the opportunity to look at some of the videos of one of your graduations and some other work that you've done. And it seems like you're building relationships. I mean, there must be some principled efforts in your mission that you work with people to build sort of the character, in a sense, not that they're not people without characters, they're people that need sort of a reset in a world that they can function in without crime and without addiction. What are some of those principles that your program sort of works with?
The principles our program works with. Well, let me say this, first of all. Our corporate values, we've adopted the virtues of prudence, justice, temperance, fortitude, faith, hope, and love. So that's our corporate values, and then we also teach that as part of our curriculum. So the great thing about that is, in terms of whether it's relationship building or just preparing to be out on your own, is it's a way for us to bring in faith components without saying, oh, this is a religious program, or without kind of jamming religion down people's throats. So you could take the virtue of hope, for example. And we get people who want to explore their faith, and we get people who don't. But with, say, hope, for example, we can talk about that first from a secular perspective. Why is hope important? Well, if you don't have hope that your life's going to get better, if you don't have hope that you can change or make new friends, give up addiction, you're not going to try. Then we can flip the script and say, now, what about hope from a faith perspective? What do people of faith believe? Well, they have hope, in an everlasting life with their Creator. They have that kind of thing. So we don't call ourselves a faith-based program anymore, but we open that door for people. And so, yeah, we're definitely building relationships. We also have a family program when we talk about relationships and partnerships, we do that not just with our staff and our clients, but then as an organization, we do it with other organizations. We've already talked about Polk County and the jail. We have a relationship with Broadlawns. They provide our medical services, our medical director. We have a partnership with St. Vincent de Paul. They come in and provide a lot of our job readiness stuff in-house, they do our family program. So our family program has a curriculum called Healthy Relationships. What's neat about that is they come in and teach it to the people that are in treatment, and then they also teach it to the families, so that when they two come back together on furloughs and as they move forward in the program and start working on their issues, they're all speaking the same language.
Excellent point. We're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a closer look at the program that helps Iowans overcome the darkness of addiction and the challenges they face. See you after the break. You don't want to miss this.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
While a lot is changing in our world, at Mediacom, our focus remains the same, making sure you have the fastest, most reliable connection possible. During this critical time, we know your needs are changing. You may be working or learning from home, relying on telemedicine, or finding new ways to keep everyone entertained. If you need more speed, call or go online, and Mediacom will double your speed immediately for as low as $10 more a month for 1 year. Today, more than ever, you need fast, reliable internet. At Mediacom, we want you to know you can count on us. Our fiber-powered 100% gigabit technology network was built for the future. We have enormous capacity and power and 99.99% network reliability. So even though these are uncertain times, we're prepared, and you can be certain we'll keep your world connected.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're talking with Bridges of Iowa, where they work with overcoming addiction, criminality. Sometimes it's a matter of faith and sometimes a matter of perseverance, but they're right in the trenches working with people that are generally underserved. They may not have a lot of insurance or a lot of money to be able to help with this. Jeff, tell us a little bit about the population you work with and how critically important it is that your services are there for them.
Yeah, well, clearly, because we do have a large population coming to us that are in the system, so to speak, many who are facing either coming to Bridges or going to prison, there's not a lot of resources out there to support them. Typically, no private health insurance. Medicaid helps some, but in large part without resources and without funding. And, quite frankly, when my parents started this program, they were okay with that. And they funded it primarily out of their own pocket. Now, as we've gone 20 years, we want to try to fix that and fix the funding so that we become more sustainable. And that's really where the need is. But we are addressing those with the least amount of resources. And the wonderful thing is we take them from a burden on society to a benefit to society as they thrive and prosper and they restore their families and those kind of things. So my challenge that I've wanted to take on is try to explain that to leaders in the state, in the government, whether it's the governor, the legislature, employers, try to demonstrate why we need to fund programs like Bridges. There's much more need than Bridges can handle. We want to be the model to show them how this works and why it's important to support permanent funding. And we'll do our part. We raise money privately and we work hard at that. But together we can find a way to solve this funding issue and provide this kind of, the great thing, like I said, is we don't have to demonstrate to anybody what a long-term successful program is. We got a 20-year record. We just now need to get the funding so that we can expand the universe of people we can serve.
Yeah, and I get that too, because what really happens is when you start out small and you have a family like yours that was caring, it's doable, but we realize looking all over the state that this is a huge problem. That the burden of paying for this cannot fall on one person's shoulders or one company's shoulders. This is a societal issue. Now, you've mentioned it before, that helping people in that situation helps reduce the cost to the state and government entities. Pat, when you're out there working with people, and I see this with prevention folks, how hard is it to get over that idea? They just don't see these as an investment. They see it as a cost, when in fact, they have the classic sort of organization of an investment where it saves taxpayers and the government money.
You're exactly right. You're given a speech, a part of the speech that I give all the time when I do presentations, and I talk about the fact that spending money on treatment isn't really spending, it's investing. It's investing in your community, it's investing in families and children. It's investing in saving lives. And so we know that's true. And there's lots of studies that you can go to. CASA at Columbia did a study where Jeff referenced it earlier, that they say for every person who stays out of jail, stays clean and sober, they save the community $100,000 per year. And that's every year, not just a one-time thing. And it's mostly due to, I don't have my speech in front of me anymore, but I've given it enough. I'm pretty sure I can get it. It's reduced jail time, reduced social services, increases in employment and tax paying. All of those things reduce the burden on community and save money. So it truly is investing.
Now, do you build relationships with employers as well to help reintegrate people? I mean, obviously, it must be employers that understand Bridges and what you do and believe in the people that you help them with.
Absolutely. I don't remember. We have several hundred people on our employers in the community on our list that are willing to hire our people. And when a lot of them are felons, I think that's a substantial thing to say. And it's all because of, as Jeff said, our 20-year record, our success rate. They know that if they hire someone from our program, that they're going to have that support. They know where they're living. They know they're being drug tested. They know that they can call us if there's any problem and someone doesn't show up for work, et cetera. And sure, sometimes there's some failures, but for the most part, the people that have stuck and stayed at their companies have been great employees. And so they know that now. And so they're willing to take a chance on these people.
I'm betting your alumnus number well into the thousands throughout the Iowa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. We'll take a short break, and then we're going to ask you both, if you're willing, to share some final comments and some advice, maybe for our listeners, things you've learned from the years involved with the program that people needing to find help for somebody or find help for themselves could use as valuable. Stay tuned. We'll see you after the break.
I don't know how we would have survived without Mediacom. We have 5 kids, my wife and I, and we have Mediacom for all of our internet and all of our cable services. So I'm stuck in my house, but at the same time, I'm connected to people all over the world, and it's been fantastic.
Thanks to Mediacom, I've had reliable internet to continue to work business as usual, so that I can continue to provide for myself and my family.
Right now, we all feel like the world is in a standstill. The internet has played a huge role in allowing us to stay connected to our jobs and the kids' schooling online and finding fun and creative ways to stay connected with the ones that we love. We couldn't do it without Mediacom.
You're the engine that makes all things go, and you're always in disguise, my hero. I see your light in the dark, smile in my face when we all know it's hard. You're doing a good job, a good job. You're doing a good job, don't get too down. The world needs you now, know that you matter.
Today on Surviving Bad, we've taken a moment to talk about addiction, criminality, and how Bridges of Iowa is helping people. Let's hear what final words of advice our guests have for you. Jeff and Patrick, thank you for everything you've shared. Patrick, talk about how people might engage Bridges and how they may personally get connected with you guys.
Well, probably the easiest way is just to go to our website, which is bridgesofiowa.org, and I think they're going to put that on the screen. You can also call our main number or call our admissions person directly. Her name is Debbie, and her number is 515-494-8515. And so she'll just walk you through the process, talk about, let's get you in for an assessment, let's figure out what you need. Not everyone needs the whole year-long program. And so it's a great program and it works, but sometimes, maybe you start with something less intensive and see how it goes. So we'll work with you, we'll meet you where you're at, and we'll work with you on whatever your needs are.
Is there any reason somebody shouldn't call you if they're dealing with substance use, addiction, or facing jail time or anything like that?
Absolutely no reason. I would only say if it's a medical emergency, go to the emergency room. Other than that, give us a call. We'll hook you up.
Now, Jeff, life is a process of many things. And when you're dealing with people that are hurting and healing and the ideas of compassion and caring, these are sensitive places to be. And your family has quite a role in this organization, and now you have quite a role. How do you sort of digest this whole thing? What has it done to change your life, and what has it done to add to your life to be involved with Bridges?
Well, it's actually very simple. It's the success. It's the stories of success. We know we're helping people. We're restoring families. I mean, what more do you really need than that? And people talk about, my dad and mom talk about people stopping them on the street and talking about the success stories family members had, that they've had. It's pretty rewarding when you get that kind of immediate feedback and ongoing feedback. So we know we're helping people, and that's really all we need. Now, I just want to take it to the next level because, if you're in the system, we can help you right away. Others we can help as well, and we certainly want people to call. But I still get lots of phone calls from parents who have children that aren't in the system that could benefit from this, or maybe they're from the far northwest part of Iowa or southeast part of Iowa, and it's much more difficult to provide those services. And so we just want to take it to the next level and make this available to a lot more people because we know it works. And when you see the results at these graduations or you hear from our alumni, it's hard not to tear up, and that's reward enough to keep fighting the good fight.
Jeff, as you were growing up, what kind of things did your dad say to you about life that may relate to his experience with Bridges?
Well, the one thing we always somewhat joke about with my dad is most people will give people a chance to fail and give them a second chance. My dad is known to give you 10 chances to fail because he never stops believing, and that there's good in every person. We just got to get them the right help at the right time. And it's just something that he's always had. And that's kind of what Bridges is about, is giving people another chance and another chance. And when you see that payoff, you know that his philosophy is right. And some of us that want to cut people off or give up on them sooner are wrong.
That is a great note on which to end the show. Thank you both for sharing your thoughts, your ideas, and a little bit about Bridges of Iowa. And thank you all for joining us today. You can go to our website, ahealthyiowa.org, for more information. Keep your eye on Mediacom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore Iowa's stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. On Mediacom MC22, your local programming leader.
If you or someone you care about are looking for help with treatment or recovery, there is help out there. Please visit these sites.